we learn to rely on that versus human interaction because we're already lacking human interaction and connection. And AI, unfortunately, I think pulls us further from that.
So you can play around with AI to add humor to things too. And I was like, that'll be pretty funny having Snoop Dogg read a speech or something.
And try to picture Snoop Dogg walking me through 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Exactly.
5 things you can see and name them. Right. 4 things you can touch and touch them.
Hey everyone, welcome to Wellness Wednesday. My name is Robin Innes, a licensed clinical social worker in Colorado, and I'm here with my co-host, Beth Gustin, a licensed professional counselor, also in Colorado. We were talking about the weather, looking forward to all of the spring sunshine, which can also help boost mental health. And so talking about boosting mental health, one coping strategy that is going to be discussed today is AI. How can an AI assistant, such as ChatGPT or any other, be helpful in supporting you on your mental health journey, especially if you're feeling down and out and feel like you don't have anybody to talk to? So that's what we're going to dive into more today. And we're going to make a disclaimer that whatever technology you use with AI, it is not a substitute for seeing a trained mental health professional, because that human aspect cannot be replaced. And so AI can be added to your toolbox, but again, not a replacement.
Absolutely. So disclosure, I, for fun, did try I used ChatGPT and asked it a question from a client perspective. It was something I was trying to work on in my life just because I wanted to see what it did, because I'd heard that clients of mine have tried it and darn it if it wasn't actually helpful. But Robin is 100% right, and I agree. This does not replace talking to a trained therapist. You are not going to get the empathy and the conversational back and forth component of therapy that I think is important in a therapy session. If you talk to AI long enough, you will notice the glitches and the hiccups, and it only can get you so far. But what I like about it is it does give you different ways to think about things. It does help remind you of coping skills that maybe you forgot you had, or that maybe it helps you think of something you hadn't tried before that might be helpful to you. And so I do think it has a role in our society today, much as I do not like AI. I think if you can't reach your therapist, if it's 3 a.m. and you can't sleep, it can help. But I would not make it your only tool by any means. I would still encourage you to seek out professional support if you're finding yourself using ChatGPT as your therapist.
Exactly. And I think it can be a good, helpful tool in a lot of aspects. I do think that, I'm going to divert a little bit, I do think that AI gets a bad rap because, like any other thing in society, some people can take advantage of it. But if it's used correctly, it can be beneficial.
I agree. I think it's very helpful for those of us in the blind and visually impaired community at giving us access to things we didn't have access to before.
Yep.
I think it's great for that.
Yeah, I agree.
I think it's scary, though, if it gets, quote unquote, in the wrong hands, or if we learn to rely on that versus human interaction, because we're already lacking human interaction and connection. Mm-hmm. And AI, unfortunately, I think pulls us further from that.
Yeah. You touch on some really good points that fall into what we're talking about today, but then also could go into a different area too. Like how you were talking about the human connection with AI is empathy, right? And so when you see a personal therapist, that therapist understands you as a person over time. And with that level of rapport, what therapists do is tailor different coping strategies or help support you in a way that fits your personality. And AI is unable to do that. They don't have that ground history with you. And then also too, I think that AI still needs a lot of work in terms of biases, right? Some biases may even pop up in AI responses in regards to certain populations. So that could be something to pay attention to as well. I do think that AI is a good option, like Beth, like you mentioned, when your therapist is not available. Like on my caseload, that's what a lot of my clients fall into, is when they're not able to talk to me, how can I be able to continue that support? Especially because a lot of my clients, if not all of them, to be completely honest, don't feel comfortable in reaching out to crisis lines
Right.
or those avenues. So that's why I do think that it would be a good supplement if they can't talk to me in after hours or on the weekends, and they can still feel in a way supported and heard.
I agree with that. My clients also will not use a crisis line because their experiences have not been good. That's a whole other conversation. But I do think, well, I don't love saying this. I do think that AI at least is something. If you type in something like, I'm feeling really down, it'll come back with, I'm really sorry. Here's some strategies that might help you, or whatever.
Yeah.
And I think it can at least help you shift your focus a little bit so that you're hopefully not as far down. Like I said, it might actually help remind you of something that you forgot you can do. Because when we're feeling really down or we're having a mental health challenge and we can't reach a human being, it at least can kind of help you brainstorm. And it's something.
It is something, and I feel like it allows a person to be an observer and step back from their situation a bit and gain that bit of clarity. Because when people are feeling alone, to spiral, right? Because you're not hearing any outside voices, you're just hearing that inner chatter. So that's why it's important to be, and I mention this to all of my clients, before you get fully immersed in whatever feeling that you have, really try to develop your oh my goodness, not your cool kit, your toolkit, so that you know what to go back to and it's easy to pull from. So with AI, before you become fully immersed in whatever emotion that you're feeling, as soon as you feel it, right, going back to that mindfulness that we talked about, that's when you start to say, okay, maybe I'll try AI today and see what strategies that they can come up with that I haven't thought of, or like Beth said, that I need to be reminded of.
I think it's okay to have a cool toolkit. There's nothing wrong with that.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
I also think, depending on which AI you're using, if you choose to let it remember things for you on a good day, you can type in there your list of coping skills and just put every single skill you've got that you can think of. And then on a bad day, you could say, hey, what are my coping skills? Help me remember my coping skills. And if it remembers those things for you because you've told it to, it will pull them up for you. And that can be helpful when we are unable to think of things in the moment, as most of us cannot when we're spiraling.
That is very true. I forgot about that. The one that I use, it does have a history. So every time I log in, it'll say the past search results that I've done. I completely forgot about that. Yeah, that could be a good option too.
Some things that AI can be useful for, if you're looking to use it to help you with coping skills, is you can ask it for journaling prompts or questions on a certain topic. You can ask it for breathing exercises, like to help with grounding and centering. You can ask it for muscle relaxation exercises. You can ask it for coping skills in nature. You can do different things like that to help you get coping skills that are more tailored to what you know usually helps you. And so be creative with the prompts you give it and be open to what it comes back with.
Exactly. I haven't researched the accuracy of it yet, but this morning I did ask AI, what are some long sleep YouTube videos and positive quotes? And it gave me a list in each category. So I'm going to research to make sure that it's accurate, but it seemed like it was. It came up with different ones and synopsis of it. Yeah, you can do it to ask quotes too, which I love. I love positive quotes.
When I used it for just to see what it would come back with for like breathing exercises and grounding and things like that, it was pretty accurate. I always encourage people to double check what you get back from AI. Go to Google or somewhere else and do the same search just to kind of make sure that you're getting similar results and just to make sure it's accurate. And if you have a therapist, talk about this with your therapist. Talk about how you're using AI and what you'd like to gain from it and how it can kind of aid you in your work with your therapist. So they can also help you check the accuracy of what you're getting.
Yep. A bit of a side note and some humor with AI. One of my clients was telling me, is it Speechify?
I've heard of Speechify. I've never used it.
I heard that you can do like different voices. She said that Snoop Dogg's voice is on there or something like that. So you can play around with AI to add humor to things too. And I was like, that'll be pretty funny having Snoop Dogg read a speech or something.
And try to picture Snoop Dogg walking me through 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Exactly.
5 things you can see and name them.
Right.
4 things you can touch and touch them.
Exactly. That would be really funny. Yeah. But yes, I just think that AI is beneficial in this realm. But again, can't emphasize this enough to you all. Just be careful in how you use it. It's not a supplement.
It is beneficial. I know I said I hate AI, and that was a very strong statement to make, but I think it's more coming from the fear of what it can bring if we're not careful. And yet I do love from a blindness perspective, especially the doors it has opened for all of us. And I can't say enough good about that. And like Robin said earlier, yes, it has a long ways to go.
Yes.
But I do think a lot of good is coming out of AI.
Yeah.
And I also think, like everything, there's a good and a downside.
Yeah. And it does cause fear for that downside, that potential. One final add is somebody had told me that AI has the IQ of almost Einstein. And I think in 2030 something, it's supposed to exceed Einstein level of brilliance or IQ. So I do understand the hesitancy behind AI too. So, well, anything else you want to mention in regards to AI and technology and mental health, Beth?
No, I am sure that we could go down this rabbit hole at length, but I would love to hear your thoughts on AI and have you used it? Has it helped you? Which one maybe do you find the most helpful? Because there's lots of models out there right now, and I think they all have their strengths and weaknesses depending on what you want to do. But what are your thoughts? AI and mental health? You can call us, you can email us. We do receive your messages and we do our best to respond on the next episode of the podcast, or if not, then the one after that. But we do receive each and every one of your comments and feedback, so please keep them coming.
Until next time, take care.
Stay grounded and take care.
Oh yeah, Wellness Wednesday with Beth and Robin. Gonna settle it down. Oh yeah, get your feet planted on the ground.
For more podcasts with the blindness perspective, check us out on the web at www.blindabilities.com. And be sure to subscribe to the podcast wherever you listen to podcasts. And if you want to leave us some feedback, give us a call at 612-367-6093. We'd love to hear from you. Thanks for listening, and until next time, bye-bye.
Wellness and taking care of ourselves. It's all about you and taking care of yourself.
When we share
what we see through
each other's eyes, we can then begin to bridge the gap
between the limited expectations and the realities
of blind abilities.
and the realities of blind abilities.